For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Albert. This is Derek Evans. It's Friday, and we finished yet another glorious week in America's new golden age.
Absolutely. Hope you guys are having a great day. We got an awesome show lineup for you guys here today. As always, like, share, subscribe, all those good things. Whatever platform you're watching on, hop in the comments. Read all of the comments. I'll do my very best to give you guys a shout out, kind of like this. We've got Dan Dreyer over here in the Rumble chat. We got PSU, Sig Ep in Arizona, Ultra MAGA. I'm just calling you Ultra MAGA from now on over here in the Getter chat. And then we got Thaddeus over here in the X chat. Just remember, guys, today's tariffs are tomorrow's tax cuts. And with that,
that's right.
Dive right in.
Well, actually, before we jump into that, I got a video you sent me, actually, from my favorite ratchet hood rat congressman, Jasmine Crockett. Let's just go ahead and run this.
Been gracious. Is this. When I first became a public defender, I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charlie, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm black. Charlie looked at me like I was crazy.
Well, Charlie was right. Yeah, exactly. So she's admitting on the floor in Congress that she is a DEI hire, that they had no reason to. It wasn't her outstanding job performance, the credibility she brought to the job, or anything else. She's because she's black. Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't like she had I had amazing grades. I did to admit that even is actually quite sad. I would not want a job if I was only given the job because I was a white. No, if it kept my family off the street, fine. But like, I would not be bragging about that. I would not be proud of that. I should say that was the only reason I got a job is because I'm white. I want to give a shout out to KSJ over here in the X chat, and then FG over here in the Getter chat. And but yeah, I cannot believe. I couldn't believe it. I sent it to you since I saw. I was like, this is hilarious. I can't believe that Jasmine Crockett openly admits that she was a DEI hire.
Well, again, I expect nothing less out of her. I mean, she thinks that's a good thing. They believe the role of government is to determine success. Instead of people succeeding on their own merit, it's because of the color of their skin, because they're an activist, because of their religion, not because of merit, not because they're successful. And it's pathetic, and it is harmful to minorities more than anyone else, because we see the results from it. And then people who happen to be a minority but have worked hard, are the best in their field, they're the ones that then take the slings and arrows for it and are suspect. I mean, it's terrible, and it's a policy that needs to end immediately. Let's go ahead and jump into this because as usual, yesterday our media was freaking out. The stock market went down. The tariffs were the end of the world, but we're already seeing that isn't the case. And we had other good news too. Jobs crush expectations. 228,000 added in March as Trump economy defies its critics. we see this time and time again. They always anything that Trump does is cast in the worst light possible. They pretend it's just going to be a disaster, and then they get egg on their face within 24 hours. You would think they would stop doing this at some point, but they're not capable of learning a lesson because most of the dinosaur media is just Democrat partisans masquerading as journalists. So they're there to perform political hit jobs. They're not there to inform people or tell them what happened in the world or give them, just the facts and details, let them make up their own mind. They are there to craft opinion, and they are big mad that the alternative media platforms like ours here at X America News are now bringing in more viewers and getting the truth out, that they're not able to just spew the uniparty narrative and have the public believe it. Now there are real viable alternatives, proving them wrong every single day.
And here's the fascinating part about this. So first of all, the expectations was they were expecting the jobs report to come back around 140,000 new jobs added. And so these numbers obviously crushed expectations, and blew it out of the water. And then the other key takeaway here is these are not government jobs. These are private sector jobs. Joe Biden, in addition to all the COVID people just going back to work and pretending that they created a job that didn't count, but even the actual jobs that were quote unquote added were just government bureaucracy jobs that they created. It was a false job creation. These are all private sector jobs, which is exactly the foundation of a good economy and how you really get the economy turned around. So this is huge. Like I said, they were expecting 140,000, ends up being 228,000. And once again, these are all private sector jobs coming in here. And then there was also a major focus by President Trump that they had mentioned earlier today, specifically in the manufacturing sector, in the manufacturing industry, which is going to be huge for there. There it is. Yeah. So I mean, as you can see, the last 2 months under Joe Biden, December, we lost 10,000 jobs. January, lost 5,000 jobs. And then under President Trump, February and March, we gained 8,000 and 1,000. And that's in addition to some of the jobs that were lost. So that's a net gain of these. And these are good paying jobs that have benefits, that provide insurance and such for the children of these workers as well, and jobs that they can support a family and raise a family on. And we're going to see even more of this as the tariffs continue and these companies start reshoring and investing into making things here in America. Once this is what I voted for, and this is what I mean when I say make America great again.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's keep one other thing in mind with those job numbers, and I think we touched on this yesterday, is that job increase, that's with the cut in government jobs factored in as well. So the actual gains are much higher than this because they, again, factored in all the eliminations at the federal level, all this waste that was going on from these government employees not accomplishing anything, but all the cutbacks that are made by DOJ, by the administration, and by the individual federal departments, that's factored into this as well. So this is a net increase of 228,000 jobs, and that by itself is just huge. We're already seeing the effects from Trump's policy, and I know everybody's crying right now that there's 35% chance of a recession, and I think globally that's almost a certainty. But as Trump stated, right now what they're trying to do is shore up things here in America. So even if there is a global recession, we are relatively unaffected by it here. Now that doesn't mean there aren't going to be certain products that may be hard to get for a little while, or increases in price on foreign cars, but by and large, I think we won't suffer the brunt of the effects that the rest of the world does, because we're preparing and eliminating. We're preparing for the crash and eliminating the bad economic policy that the United States has lived under for the last, 5 decades or longer. So we're setting things right, and it won't. If we feel any effects from it, it won't be nearly as bad here as the rest of the world.
That's a fact. I want to give a quick shout out to Sean over here in the Getter chat, and then we've got Smash over here in the X chat. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in, and that's exactly right. I think that once again President Trump still has He was the president at the beginning of COVID. He saw firsthand, which you already knew it, but it really just, I put a magnifying glass on the supply chain issues in our country, if you will, during that time. And I think that he understands that this is not only is it important for the economy, but it is important as a matter of national security. I put a post out last night. I was just sitting there thinking about it. Do you guys remember when, because what made me think about it is Ford has announced that in support of the tariffs and being an American-made vehicle, that they're going to give employee pricing for the next few months on all their vehicles, which is absolutely amazing. But I started thinking about it. Do you guys remember during COVID, there were tens of thousands? I remember at one point it was up to 60,000 because I did some research last night. Vehicles just sitting, brand new vehicles sitting in a lot could not be used because they were waiting on the chips to come here from Taiwan and other countries during COVID because the supply chains were shut down. That is what we mean by the importance and being a matter of national security to bring these jobs back here to America, bring the manufacturing sector back here to America so that we are not dependent on these other countries. It's okay to do some trade with them here and there, but we should not be 100% solely dependent on any other country for any of these things that's going on right now in our country. And it's funny watching all these countries. President Trump announced last night that virtually every single country has already called him, reaching out, wanting to know what they can do about this whole tariff situation. And that is awesome because he said if we would have asked them to do us a favor 3 months ago, they would have laughed at us, and now they would do just about anything to get rid of the tariffs. So it's an incredible position we put us in. I'm willing to accept any sort of short-term pain for the long-term benefits that we will be receiving from this. And I don't know about anybody else, but I voted for this.
Yeah, agreed. Well, China is already out there retaliating. I think they reacted too quickly. China imposes 34% tariffs on U.S. goods in retaliation. Well, I think this is only going to come back to bite them. I mean, I know they've got their big buyers already complaining. Walmart, Target, companies like that have grown used to importing cheap Chinese goods. Let's not forget Amazon. But again, there's alternatives now. You can buy American. You can buy from these other countries that aren't that are willing to work with the United States, that are willing to cut their harmful trade policies. So, I don't think they really have the cards to hold or the power they think they do now. And again, let's not forget, there is huge economic turmoil on the ground within China. It just isn't widely reported on here. Maybe we need to next week. I got a contact I talk with online that runs a news site through YouTube that is an expert on this. I'm going to reach out, see if he might be available one day next week to kind of break down to all our viewers just how bad things really are behind the Great Wall.
Absolutely. And then FG over here in the Getter chat says, I voted for this 3 times. So did I.
Exactly.
FG. That's exactly right over here. And then Sean's over talking about USA, Act Blue, all that. I'm not going to take credit for this because Matt Gaetz said it first yesterday, but I thought it was hilarious. But we should look into issuing tariffs on Act Blue since most of that money is foreign money coming into our country.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. And then I saw where a lot of these left-wing extremists were saying, "Oh, did you notice that there's no tariffs on Russia?" Well, it's because we have sanctions on Russia. We are not trading with Russia. So are you suggesting that we start trading with Russia so that we can issue tariffs on them like we do everybody? That's how stupid these people really are at the end of the day. But yeah, you had mentioned that you thought they overreacted. I'm trying to pull it up. Trump, here it is. So Trump put out a post this morning about China and said, China played it wrong. They panicked. The one thing they cannot afford to do. So absolutely. And they cannot. None of these countries can get into and win a trade war with us. I mean, they just absolutely can't. We are the world's largest economy by far. It's like $20-something trillion a year economy. We've been at a major multi-trillion-dollar trade deficit over the last little bit, which is absolutely ridiculous. I believe, and I don't know this, but I can kind of connect dots. President Trump has mentioned multiple times we could use tariffs and get rid of the federal income tax. I believe that this is what he's attempting to do, is to lay that foundation for that now, show the American people we can, bring this sort of money in and then start slowly phasing out the federal income tax. He's going to eliminate tax on overtime, Social Security, tips. And then he's mentioned, okay, now, next step would be eliminating the federal income tax for anybody who makes up to $150,000 a year. Because right now it's like 10,000, 12,000, something like that, somewhere in that range. You can make up to that amount. 14. Okay. So right now it's 14,000. So this is already in place. It would just basically be 10xing that. So it's not something new in terms of like, everybody who makes their first $14,000 is tax free. They're just going to extend that to 150,000. And once that cat is out of the bag, good luck to the Democrats winning elections campaigning on the messaging of, we're going to start taxing you again so we can send it to other countries. That's going to be a hard message for them to sell to the American people.
Yeah, exactly. Ecuador needs their drag shows. You can't have a tax break anymore. We've got to trans the kids in Guatemala. I don't think that's going to fly with the voters, but I don't think any of their policy is. And we're going to talk about this more later. But yeah, they continue to argue that the illegal aliens need to be returned to the U.S. because somehow we violated their rights. I don't think the American people want to hear it. Well, we know they don't. I mean, support for deportations is going up, not down again right now. And the Democrats are just looking like fools. It had dropped for a little while to whatever it was, 62, 63%, but it's back up to nearly 70%, or at 70%, depending on what poll you believe. So anyway, here we go. President Trump says every country has called the White House in response to his tariffs. And yes, we're already seeing responses, either offering to cut the tariffs on U.S. goods, offering to correct trade imbalances. And some countries are even offering to help us work against China, to help diminish their power in the world. So it's already doing exactly what President Trump wanted to do. It's already having a net positive effect, but you're still seeing all these retards in the mainstream media cry about it and try to highlight a few negative details. And yes, again, like we've said over and over again, there are going to be certain sectors impacted. You may have even a few like foreign-based employers cutting back things here. But by and large, this is going to be good for the American people, especially those that are in lower income brackets or the middle class. That's who this is going to have the greatest net positive effect for. Now, some of the millionaires and billionaires, as Bernie likes to say, they may have some short-term economic pain because they can't buy cheap shit in China anymore without paying the price. But by and large, this is going to be a net positive for all Americans, even if there is a small amount of short-term pain.
Yeah, and look, Vietnam, India, a couple other, Canada they've all said, that they're willing to drop all the tariffs if we do the same sort of thing. But guess what?
Yeah,
we shouldn't do that even at that point because we're still importing way more than they. So we should do it up to the point of things are fair. But at that point, if we're still importing more than what we're exporting, so like if we're exporting $10 billion worth of stuff to them and that's it, and they're importing and we're importing 100 billion of their stuff, then the first 10 billion should be tariff free. If that's, that would be reciprocal tariffs. And then the next 90, we're going to put a tariff on it. I mean, that's the way I'm looking at this right now is the cat's out of the bag. We don't need to let up on this. I mean, we can make it fair, in terms of, like I said, dollar for dollar sort of thing, or roughly. It ain't going to be exact, but it means somewhere in that range. So, and then, something I haven't really seen a lot of people discussing is Thaddeus and Dan Dreyer in two different chats are talking about the same exact thing, which is hilarious. You got Thaddeus over here in the X chat says, is anyone else excited about being able to buy low right now? This is actually a very unique investment opportunity. And then Dan Dreyer at the same time in the Rumble chat was saying, keep your powder dry, buying opportunities galore. If you don't have individual stocks in your sights, look at S&P index funds. And just for the algorithm and anybody out there, this is not financial advice. So just want to throw that out there. But I would agree 100%. This is an amazing opportunity to do that, especially if you are somebody who believes in what President Trump is doing. Now, if you're one of these people who believes that President Trump is going to send us back to the Stone Ages and collapse the economy, don't go buy stocks, obviously. But if you are somebody like myself and probably most of you who believes that there's going to be a little bit of short-term pain for long-term success, this would be an absolutely amazing buying opportunity. I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective, and people should at least look into taking advantage of that over the next little bit.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, there's two things I want to touch on before we run to break here in a minute. But there was a great quote from Scott Bessent yesterday on these tariffs policy when they were, again, trying to back him into a corner on some interview. But he said, this tariff policy is about MAGA, making America great again. It isn't about the Mag 7, the Magnificent 7, the 7 largest people trading on the stock market, Google, Apple, companies like that are taking advantage of the of the trade policy, the tax policy here, offshoring jobs to China. So this is about making America great again, and it's not about filling we're continuing to fill these companies' wallets. And that's the way we've got to look at it. These large global corporations may have some short-term pain, but it's going to ultimately be good for us here at home. And I don't really care if this has a negative impact on Google. That's their problem. They're the ones that chose to outsource things to other countries. Same with Apple. They construct factories that construct their phones and their devices in factories that are so good to their employees that they have to put suicide nets around the buildings. So I'm not real concerned if they're taking a financial hit. I don't care if the price of the iPhone goes up by $100 to compensate for the tariffs. That's not something that's even on my radar. I'm not an Apple user anyway. I've had to have them before for companies I worked for, but I'm not an Apple fan. I think you are, but I don't use any Apple products personally.
I like the user interface. I'm too dumb to use to learn how to re-navigate something all over again. For the record, I do agree that Android are better phones. I absolutely have no problem admitting that, but the user interface of Apple products are just so much easier for me anyway. So that's why I stick with it. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't care about any of that sort of stuff. Just keep making America great again. This is the mandate that the American people delivered. We are sick and tired of being the world's piggy bank. We are sick and tired of being taken advantage of by the rest of the world. And to be quite literally just completely honest with you, I don't really care that much if this collapses the economy of another country. If that's what has to happen in order for us to get back to where we need to be, then so be it. If they were dumb enough to build their entire economy on us having stupid leadership in America, then that's on them. And I think we should take it a step further. I think that now that we're kind of resetting everything in terms of the trade policies, we should go to people like Argentina and who's the other one? Bukele, El Salvador. We should go to these people who are actually helping us, actually working with us, actually sharing our values. Europe is over here right now arresting people for calling out their school boards or for praying outside of clinics and such. So I don't want to do business with those sorts of people. I want to go to those to Bukele and Argentina and say, hey, we want to work with you guys. You guys have been great to us. How can we help you since you're helping us? I think that we actually owe them that, and we should make them in terms of the products that they provide, they should be our number one trading partner in that regard for the simple fact of taking our prisoners and such.
Yeah, I'd much rather reward countries that don't hate us, whether that's our new allies in South America or India, Japan, other countries that are working with us. That's another thing, too, is we heard all this talk and bluster out of the EU, but the minute these tariffs went active, they immediately came to the table to negotiate. Most of these countries are going to back down within 24 hours because they know that they need us a lot more than we need them. We can buy, cheese that smells like feet and wine from countries other than France, and they know that. And one last thing I guess I want to touch on before we run to break. There was also this big CNN had their little panel making fun of Trump tariffing penguins, apparently, on 2 islands that are owned by Australia. Well, again, this is another example of them being completely intellectually dishonest, that they refuse to put in real context or anything else. Like, yeah, you want to put that as a headline and laugh about it because I think the Financial Times did something like that, but then the article was honest. Okay, fine. That's you're getting people's attention. At least you're getting people to read the story, because right in the first paragraph there they explain this isn't really about tariffing the penguins. It's about there's fisheries on these islands, and they've bought in the last year I think it was over $1 million worth of products from the U.S. Most of this was parts and stuff for maintenance, things like that. But there's a reason for it. They're tariffing the goods that came in from the U.S., so we are now enacting that back on them from the fish that would have been sold out of these fisheries, because it'll force them to make a change immediately. Sorry.
Really quick, specifically on that note, I've got a video and we posted a little bit here in a little bit on that. It was about the shrimp people in the northeast part of America here. They have been the shrimp industry has been absolutely decimated from all of the to your point, all the shrimp that we're importing right now from those areas. And Massachusetts, up in that area, there's a huge shrimping industry, Maine, all of that, and those people have been absolute. That industry has been decimated up there, in part because of this. So to your point, that was a lot to do with it, and they've been talking about that. And I support American. I've never been on a shrimp boat. I'm sure it's hard work. I don't know anything about it. But I eat shrimp, and I would much rather buy shrimp from American people who are out here. They're kissing their family goodbye every morning and going out and busting their butt, trying to provide a living for their family. And I support those people more so than some random person in another country just so I can buy it 10 cents cheaper or whatever. Like, no, I'm going to stick with the American, fishing people.
Bingo. All right, guys, we got to take a quick break, hear from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back with even more.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the great programs here on Ex American News is by supporting our sponsors. Mike Lindell's found himself back in the crosshairs again as he considers running against our favorite VP candidate, Mr. Walls there. And man, we have a story about him coming up here in a minute too. But right now, Mike Lindell and the employees at MyPillow need your support. Use code Insurrection to get the deepest discounts on all the great products they offer at MyPillow and My Store. Get yourself a set of pillows, get yourself a set of the amazing slippers they have, or go to My Store, buy some products from American companies, support American jobs, and get the deepest discounts with code Insurrection. All right, guys.
But before we go forward, I want to button up our last conversation because I pulled it up really quick during the break because I wanted to know exactly. So, the Gulf shrimpers specifically are really celebrating the reciprocal tariffs. And to your point here about them, they're tariffing the penguins. No. It was about all the fishing stuff. So, the value. This is a direct thing. The value of the shrimp caught by American shrimpers has fallen in this case by more than 45% over the last 2 years. Okay, so doing the same job, the value has dropped by over 45% over the last 2 years. And as those prices have been falling, our imports from foreign countries have grown up to 1.6 billion pounds of shrimp that we've been importing from places like this, which is absolutely taking money out of the pockets of American shrimpers. And so that's it's one of those industries you kind of take for granted. You think, I'm going to go buy some shrimp, don't think much about it. It's got a huge impact on families in America, and absolutely. So that's fallen by 45%. I don't know how they are even still in business at this point, to be honest with you.
Oh, I know. And I've seen Forrest Gump. I know how hard it is. Chief Justice Roberts' secret friendship with Trump prosecutor ally Norm Eisen exposed. This is something we've talked about, these private clubs, and really, I feel like that there should be an investigation here. That if we have judges and lawyers meeting in secret in a private club that is invite only, that there have to be nefarious things going on there behind the scenes, whether this is cutting deals or offering advice on prosecutions. I don't know. But I mean, this just sounds shady all the way around. And again, I really think what we need to do is look into Chief Justice Roberts' trips to Pedophile Island, and we need to hear. We need to start seeing some arrests for all the Epstein Island stuff, anyway. But we all know exactly what's going on. This is a coordinated judicial insurrection, and we've got to put a stop to it immediately.
This guy is out of hand. All these activist judges are out of hand, but he is like the leader, if you will. He's like the lead boss of the activist judges. This guy is so out of hand right now. I don't even know if there's any reining him in outside of arrest. And I'm being 100% serious. It needs to be on the table. I want him arrested yesterday, but I get that I'm a little bit different than people who's in the actual position to make those decisions. It at the very least needs to be on the table. It needs to be a serious discussion to potentially go arrest this guy right now, because he's threatening to hold people in contempt. He actually said yesterday, he said, I believe that that President Trump defied my order to turn that plane around. Like, who the hell do you think you are that you're going to order the president to bring back a plane of illegal gangbangers and stuff who illegally invaded our country? I mean, the fact that he said that, and he said it with that attitude, that smug attitude of President Trump is beneath him, and how dare him go against his order. That was the worst part of the whole exchange. For that, to me, everybody got hung up on the contempt thing, which don't get me wrong, that was wrong too. But to me, that comment of President Trump defied my orders with not turning that plane around, to me, that really shed more light into the mindset of this man, more so than the threat to put people in contempt. That was more mind-blowing and scary to me, if you will.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is that we have these lower court judges with this inflated ego and sense of entitlement, think that they can make rulings that affect the whole country. And we've got to put the brakes on this immediately. Trump-hating Judge Boasberg considers holding Trump officials in contempt for not bringing killers, criminals, gangbangers, rapists back to the U.S. homeland. May seek jail time. Worthless GOP leaders silent. And again, we've talked about this, that right now this is being held up in the House. Now, I guess they may have a path forward now. They've negotiated something with Luna, maybe to address her concerns later, even though, again, I don't think that's something we really want to do. But they may finally get a vote on a few of these things now. But I mean, it won't be this week, obviously, maybe next week. But still, these judges are out of control. This is judicial tyranny. This is a judicial insurrection, and it has to be put down immediately.
Yeah, and it does have to happen. But once again, I believe that this judge, what he's doing, needs to be handled outside of impeachment. I really think the answer for this guy specifically is arresting him. He needs to be charged, because he is aiding and abetting foreign invaders, domestic terror, or not foreign terrorist groups, known and officially labeled terrorist groups. We know they're terrorist groups, and he's doing this, and he's getting handed other cases as well. I'm sick of the patty cake politics. I'm sick of trying to play nice and take the high road with these people. Like, it's time to put these people in their place. We did not watch President Trump get raided multiple times. We did not watch them attempt to put President Trump in prison for 1,000+ years. We did not watch President Trump survive an assassination attempt. We did not watch Trump supporters get arrested and thrown in solitary confinement for 4 years, just to turn around and vote for him to go in and sing Kumbaya and play nice. We sent a message when we reelected him. Part of that mandate is, by golly, we want arrests. We want these people held accountable. We want to uncover everything, yes, but then we want to see these people arrested. That is why the majority of the people who voted for Trump, not to play patty cake politics, not to try to coexist and unite with these people. They've already proven that we cannot do that. And if we do not do this, you can only imagine what they will do the next time that they are in power. Kind of use their own words against them. Well, they said they had to do all these things as a deterrence to prevent that from happening again in the future. Well, we should be arresting these people as a deterrence to make sure that this junk never happens again. So as we uncover these things, we've got to start making arrests. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a former president. I don't care if it's a sitting judge. I don't care if it's a member of the U.S. Senate, U.S. Congress. I voted because I wanted these people arrested and held accountable and charged to the fullest extent of the law. And then we should hold a press conference and just say, no one is above the law, and walk away.
Exactly. Well, let's back over to Europe again. EU globalists ready to fine Elon Musk $1 billion for not censoring opposition voices and for disinformation violations on X. And again, this is the Eurocrats, these globalists trying to hold the world hostage. They don't want alternative viewpoints. They want the media to only discuss their view on the world, their agenda, and to frame everything in ways that is beneficial to their narrative. Elon Musk leaving X open, allowing people to chat about whatever they want, and refusing to cooperate as they crack down on free speech and violate the individual rights of their citizens. Again, he should be held up as a hero, not be fined $1 billion for leaving Twitter open. But again, they don't want the truth to get out. They're afraid of malinformation. That's what they think is the biggest threat to their agendas. Information that is true, but is going to be harmful to the globalist agenda.
That's the most fascinating thing to me is the malinformation. It's true, but we can't let the people know what we're doing because they would be in an uproar if they knew what we were doing. So that's exactly what they're saying. Elon Musk is a patriot, the literal definition of it, a modern day kind of what our founding fathers did. I mean, they sacrificed personal wealth. I'm not trying to compare him to that in the exact sense, but you know, he's sacrificed a lot of personal wealth and a lot of other things to try to save our country and save freedom, if you will. What's amazing is the left hasn't learned. I mean, they've done this to so many people. Even President Trump, I believe, falls into this category. I'm ready to say is people who used to identify with the Democrat Party, or at the very least were moderate and in the middle and not really on either side, if you will. Then they come out, they join the Republican Party and start calling the left out for some of the most ridiculous things that they're doing. And then they use their weapons of the media and everything to attack these people so harsh that it pushes us further to the right. And now they are the ones that have created this sense amongst us of, we don't want to associate with you. We don't care what you think. We're going to do what we need to do because you're going to talk bad about us. You're going to attack us. You're going to try to arrest us. You're going to try to kill us no matter what we do. So we might as well go ahead and go full throttle and do the correct thing here. And so that's what they've done to Elon Musk as well. It was amazing with him, specifically because we all got to witness the red pilling in real time with Elon Musk. You know, he started off kind of dabbled his toes in the water. They continued to attack him, and he just kept pushing him further and further and further to the right, if you will. And now I believe he's at the point where it's like, come heck, whatever. He's going to take these people down if it costs him every single dollar that he has. And I think that Mike Lindell went through that as well. I mean, that's what they do to people, is they leave you no other choice but to just feel the way that we all feel right now, which is I'm numb to the Democrat Party. I don't have any sympathy for them at all.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk, his resolve's been hardened. He's in this come hell or high water, regardless of what they do to him at this point. He's not going to change. He's not going to back down. He's seen them for what they are, and that isn't going to change. Guys, we're going to go ahead and take our last break here, hear from our sponsor, and then be right back with even more.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. finish this painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfthestudio.com.
Again, thank you for staying with us. The best way to support our program and all the programs on X American News is by supporting our sponsors. So go to lutfstudios.com right now. Get yourself an original, unique, handmade piece of art from our great producer and host, Annie Cyrus. It'll become a family heirloom that you'll pass on to future generations. Guys, we got a lot to cover still, so I'm going to just jump right back into these other stories here because all is quiet on the southern front. Border crisis is over after Trump's policies enacted. You know, we went from having thousands of invaders at the border, if not tens of thousands, every single day, to literally some days it's been single digits now. People aren't even attempting to cross. And it's amazing. I mean, it shows you what happens when you actually enforce the law.
It is, man. It's absolutely fascinating. Just not only the deportations, and I understand, myself included, all of us, even Trump, they've all admitted that they want more deportations. They want to ramp up and get more deportations. But getting lost in this conversation is the simple fact that we stopped the bleeding. Okay, that is a huge win in itself. People are forgetting that this time last year, we were watching videos of literally thousands upon thousands in one location, just running and flooding across our border, waving the flags of other countries, mind you, invading our country. So we all want more deportations, but the fact that we've actually stopped the invasion is a huge, huge win for the American people and for making America safe again. So that is not getting enough of the credit that it deserves, in my opinion, is actually stopping the invasion in the first place.
Well, speaking of making America safe again, Venezuela's big mad. Venezuela stages rally to demand release of criminal Tren de la Agua members jailed in El Salvador. Well, they can go pound sand, but I think they ought to hold this rally maybe in let's pick a nice red state. Let's say Florida. Maybe they should hold it in Tallahassee. Get as many people together as they can. Let us know in advance when you're going to be there, and then we can have ICE there just for security reasons.
So hold on, I'm going to give a couple shout outs here over here in the X chat. We've got Jim Bart and we've got Jen. Appreciate you guys for being here. Smash says the left went so far left they divided themselves. That's why Trump won. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But back to this whole thing. When I first saw that, Mike, I thought that this meant that they were going to stage a rally or protest or whatever in Venezuela. Like they're planning to do this here in America with Venezuelan citizens here in America.
I think this is in Venezuela that they're mad. Maybe they should take their own criminals back. They're upset we're throwing them in jail in El Salvador. Then take your own people back.
That's a good point. I mean, they said that they weren't going to take them back, so we had to send them somewhere, number one. And at this point, I don't want to let them out of there because Venezuela will probably just turn them loose and tell them to come back, tell them to go on back again. But the difference is, as we just were speaking about, the border is now closed. So there is no coming back the way that you did the first time. I mean, it's not going to be as easy, I should say, to do that. So, I mean, we've got the military. What's funny is, 2 years ago on this show, and during my campaign, I kept mentioning that we should send in the military and send in the National Guard to the southern border to secure our border. And not everybody, a lot of people said that I was crazy and that it was unconstitutional to do that and that couldn't happen, blah, blah, blah. Well, look now. President Trump sent the military in to the southern border, and it is closed. We are no longer open for invasion here in America, and it feels really good. And I don't know about you guys. I, as a citizen, get proud watching our military on the border, securing the border. Could you imagine? That is why a lot of these people joined the military, was to protect America, not some random country over there across the world that we've never even heard of. Could you imagine the pride that these American soldiers have, going around on the southern border, knowing that they're securing and defending the homeland? I could only imagine how much pride they have wearing that uniform with that American flag and being on the border and stopping the invasion from happening in our own country. Props to those people. Thank you and it's dangerous. So we've had, Border Patrol agents who've been shot and stuff as well. Thank you guys for stepping up and putting yourself in danger to secure our country for the rest of us to sit here and argue about politics.
Yes. Well, yeah, people don't enlist in the military to bring drag shows to Pakistan and sex changes to Estonia. They join to protect America's borders and to protect Americans, American values, to protect our Constitution. They're some of the best, brightest, and bravest among us. And yeah, they're not here for the global homo agenda. Pam Bondi and DOJ hold press conference, 8:15 a.m. ET, announce arrests of 3 MS-13 gang members in Florida, but still no investigation into deep state criminals who are destroying our country. Yeah, this is my big thing. You know, it's great that they're arresting these violent gang members that have invaded the United States, but I want to start seeing some arrests and investigations into all the illicit activity that went on behind the scenes, from influencing the elections to illegal investigations into President Trump. I mean, we've heard bits and pieces of some of this, like looking into for the former FBI director for illicit operations that went on during Trump's first campaign. But it's time to see some people frog marched in handcuffs. I'm getting a little impatient waiting around for this, especially again, since we're not even hearing about investigations. I get that it's going to take a little time to put some of these cases together, but it's time for an update. The people want to see action already.
Absolutely, we do, and yeah, I'm with you. I'm glad that we're getting the worst of the worst out of here. In terms of the deportation thing, I think it's close time, or at least close to time, to start expanding that out to just anyone who's here illegally in general. We've already put a big dent in the I mean, have a task force that's still focused on the worst of the worst, if you will, but start expanding out to get anyone who's here illegally. I don't care what if they've committed any crimes other than invading our country or not. Get them out of here. They don't deserve to be here. And then yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic on the other side of the arrest thing, that maybe they're attempting to connect dots and build case behind the scenes. The good news is people like Elon Musk, I know, has got to be pretty frustrated right now, and so I'm sure that he's going to be pushing for arrests. He, as we covered on the show yesterday, has said that they now know who the orchestrators of these Tesla attacks are. So I'm cautiously optimistic that they're building a case behind the scenes to go and arrest these people, and that we're going to start seeing that happening relatively soon. President Trump yesterday also put something else out about Doge and said that that they found something today, and he was saying this yesterday. So when he says today, he's speaking yesterday. He said, they found something today that is horrible. It is absolutely horrible, and you guys will be hearing about that soon. So I can only imagine what it is, because to put that in context, look at all the things that Doge has already found and announced how bad a lot of those things are. So for him to say that in that context makes me think that they've discovered something pretty serious, and we could potentially, or at least hopefully, see some arrests surrounding that as well. But I'm with everybody out there. But at the same time, guys, we haven't even reached 100 days. Trump's still probably getting settled into the office. It's not even been 100 days yet. This has got to be one of the most historical 3-month period in our country's history. We do, including myself, need to slow down just a little bit, enjoy this moment, and enjoy the time that we're living through and witnessing right now, because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We do need to give them a little bit more time to act. But yeah, it is getting frustrating. I think people want results, especially when we see them move at just lightning speed with everything else. We'd like to see some accomplishments with arresting deep staters. Well, RFK Jr. has made the media apoplectic again. He tells The Blaze he's creating a new food pyramid and will improve school food standards. And again, I just don't understand how the media's position on absolutely anything that Trump or someone in his administration does is always to say it's negative and somehow going to destroy things. You would think something like this, there's obviously a problem with the school lunches. And again, not to mention the kids growing up that had to suffer through the Michelle Obama lunch program. I mean, that's a whole reason by itself that she'll never be capable of running for president. All these Gen Zers that were forced to endure that hate her guts already. But again, this is something we have to admit there's a problem. America keeps getting fatter and less healthy. It's time to correct that. And I think a good path to do that is to reformulate the school lunches so they're much more healthy for kids, and instead of what they've become today.
Well, and not just that, it's the education. I mean, people, have don't get me wrong, Americans, we are all compared to probably other parts of the world pretty lazy in terms of making sure that we're eating healthy and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But part of that is the culture. It's been very easy and cheaper to buy the junk food and stuff, but a lot of that also has to do with education. That food pyramid, there's a lot of people who follow that, even if you don't realize you follow that, because your parents follow that and you follow that, and you were taught that in school. And it's a scam. The whole thing is a scam. We absolutely need a whole new food pyramid. If we even need a pyramid, like we need to scrap that and start all over with something that is actually designed to help people remain healthy. In addition to, all this stuff in our food, like, he was talking in either that interview or another one yesterday about how you can go to another country and eat pasta and bread and you don't feel so tired and everything like that. But you do here. And that's because we have, quote unquote, enriched our flours and grains here. That enrichment means that they go and spray it with a man-made chemical. That's all it means. And so that's what they're doing to the stuff here. And so I absolutely support the Maha movement. This is a major, and honestly, the Maha movement is a matter of national security. People are forgetting that the reason that physical education PE classes started originally in your schools, in the school system, is because it was either World War I or World War II. One of those, they realized that that the people were not fit and prepared to do those things. So that's why they originally implemented it, was to basically, it's kind of like basic training at the time, entry level basic training to make sure that people was able to do basic things. Could you imagine if we had to do a draft right now to save our country? And I mean, I'm sorry, but America's so fat and sloppy, and I don't know that we could, as a whole, half these people probably would not even be draftable. I don't know what you would do with them, to be honest with you. I don't know. So it truly is, getting America healthy is also a matter of national security moving forward, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, we've got to do something, because it's also the health problems that follow them into adulthood, and then we end up having to take care of them their whole lives. Well, speaking of losers, how fitting, Satanists place plaque in Minnesota Capitol thanking Governor Tim Walz for supporting them. I don't know. I'm not real surprised on this. I basically see this as like par for the course. The Democrats have become the party of evil, so why wouldn't the Satanists be honoring them?
I did not know this until you went over that this morning. I somehow missed this one. You're right. I mean, at least they're giving the credit where credit is due. That's who the Democrat Party has become, and they are embracing that more and more, because honestly, I don't understand how anyone who is an honest Christian could identify with the Democrat Party. I really don't. I'm not saying you have to identify as a Republican or whatever, any other party, third party. I'm not saying any of that. I just don't understand how someone, and I haven't understood for a while, but I understand how some people could have been deceived previously, because the Democrat Party was, pretending as if they supported this, and they hid behind the Constitution of, there's no such thing, separation of church and state, people have the freedom of religion, blah, blah, blah. But they are now openly admitting and promoting these demonic things and embracing the demonic things that's going on in our country. They're embracing that and propping it up and giving it a platform. So I don't understand how anyone who is honest with themselves, calls themselves a Christian, there's no excuse now, I guess what I'm saying, to pretend that you've been deceived. What the Democrat Party stands for. If you are continuing to associate with that, you're not a Christian. Simple, period, end of discussion.
Well, yeah, I mean, we hear nothing godly come out of the Democrat Party unless it's election time, where then they go to their local church that's been obviously heavily infiltrated and influenced to the left to misrepresent Christianity, and then they hold up their little cross, make their little speech, pretend to be Christians, but with their actions, their votes, that betrays who they really are, from their endless support of abortion to a support of invasion of our country to, misconstruing the beliefs of the Christian church to fit their narrative and their worldview. That's what's so evil about this. So yeah, I think the Satanists honoring Tim Walz, that shows us who they really are, what they really want, and it's par for the course. It's a perfect fit. It's a match made in hell. But again, let's just pull this next story here, because I think it also demonstrates where the left is today. Baby murderer advocate viciously assault pro-life journalist Savannah Craven, and I'm having issues getting the video to play. But I mean, this is again, these people, like, if there were ever people that were demonically possessed, that is today's modern day Democrats. The ever diminishing percentage of the population that still supports their values. I think we're down to like 26% now, and that's probably going to continue to crater as things like this happen. Their lust for violence, their willingness to divide the country, the Democrat Party's embrace of racism over and over again, violence, terrorism, to achieve their political objectives. It's who they are. It's in their DNA. They're never going to change. And if you're voting for Democrats, that is what you're supporting.
Dude, that whole thing. So when I first, so the picture came out first before the video did, the picture, and said that she was assaulted. And when I first saw that, I thought maybe she was sitting minding her business, and somebody just came over and started getting in her face, and then that happened. But the video is even more disturbing because she's interviewing this person. They're having a conversation, and then the person just flips out and starts punching her. I mean, I did not expect that. I guess whenever they were like, "Oh, the video's out now," I was like, "Oh man, I want to see what." I did not expect that. She's just sitting there and she's kind of asking them, she's doing man on the street interviews, asking people, do you know what Planned Parenthood does, sort of thing. And they're having a conversation, and she just starts punching her. Go ahead.
I just realized something else. You'd mentioned this morning, you asked me if this was the incident that occurred in California. There were 2 of these yesterday. The other one was some other leftist. Same thing. It was during a live interview. It was a male journalist. He starts asking her why she believes what she believes, going to try to get her to justify it. She's there with her daughter, and then she attacks this guy because she's lying about statistics. She's trying to say that 90-something% of abortions are due to miscarriages, which again is a blatant lie. And he calls her out on it. He actually had the number that it was 1% or 1-point-something% or under 1%. I don't remember exactly. But then she just, the demon comes out and she physically attacks him.
Well, and that's something that needs to be fixed as well. I don't know how they fix this, but like, they should not be allowed to include miscarriage in the abortion statistics period at all. I don't care that it's technically considered a spontaneous abortion. And no, when we are speaking about abortion, we mean purposely ending a healthy pregnancy. That's what we mean when we say that. And so for them to do that is deceptive. It's wrong. And to then lump people who have had miscarriages in with that as someone who purposely, intently ended the life of their child inside the womb, that is a disgrace as well. But at the same time, we're talking about demonic people over here. And Sean says it pretty good over in the Getter chat, very short and concise: lunatic Marxists. And that's exactly what they are.
Yeah, bingo. Well, we also have this, again, the left can't just help themselves from being violent. Breaking: Antifa attacks TPUSA tabling event featuring Brandon Tatum at UC Davis. Gear stolen and students assaulted. This one, I do have the video queued up, but I need to cut the audio. It's like ear piercing, so I'm not going to play it. But again, where are the arrests? These people get violent. They steal property from conservatives. They do it over and over again. They pretend that we do it to them. And every once in a while, when it actually does happen, or there actually is some kind of violence on the right, this is the only thing you see in the news cycle for the next 30 days. They play it up as much as it possibly can. Well, our media ignores things like this that happen every single day, multiple times a day, between the Tesla terrorists and Antifa, these abortion wackos. The left, again, is the party that over and over and over again embraces violence to achieve their political ends.
Yeah, and they're being cheered on by and funded by the elected Democrats who are nothing's happening to them either. But yeah, these people were all dressed in black, had their faces covered. They punched a woman who was there, and she was simply just filming it and asking what they were doing, sort of thing. And they punched her multiple times. The police is standing right there and watched the entire thing happen and never once stepped in or even attempted. Like, they didn't even like, hey guys, don't do that. No, he literally just stood there and watched the whole thing unfold. I mean, you would think that It was like an 80-year-old woman who was just standing there fearful for. I get that you shouldn't jump in, but you were a police officer. You didn't even he didn't even spray them with pepper spray. He didn't even stand over there and be like, hey, you can't do this. Like, call for back. Nothing was done. He just stood there and allowed it to happen, probably because he's a left-wing extremist as well on that campus at UC Davis and probably supports what they were doing. He was probably over there just to watch because he knew that they were coming. I don't know why, but that police officer should be fired immediately. He's no reason to be a police officer after that interaction we saw yesterday.
Agreed. Well, we got one last story to cover here. Tim Well's daughter says she's ditching grad school as a privileged white woman over colleges not protecting protesters. Well, we just saw what kind of protesters we're talking about. But yeah, hey, I think it's good that she's dropping out. Maybe she'll become less indoctrinated. However, I kind of feel like with this one, as many of the other leftist activists, that ship's already sailed. They'll never return to sanity. They're going to continue to embrace this violence and demonization of over half of America.
Yeah, there's no saving some of these people, and it's virtue signaling. She probably was failing. She probably wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
She probably wanted to drop out, and she's like, "This is why I'm dropping out." Instead of just saying that she's a loser, now she can just say, that. And not that anybody who drops out of college is a loser by any means. I'm just saying, by their standards, that's what that would mean. By the left standards, because anybody who doesn't go to college is an uneducated loser who can't think for themselves, because when it's really the exact opposite. We're detached from the government liberal propaganda machine, if you will. But absolutely, hopefully she can be saved. I just don't know if there's any saving her.
No, there isn't. This is an opportunity to pretend to be oppressed. That's exactly what it is. And I guess to further her hatred of Israel and the Jews, since, they've basically embraced anti-Semitism as now a core principle of the Democrat Party. All right, guys. Again, I want to thank you for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear.